Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here we have my personal Kia EV6, and this is going to be a start of a series where we test all different types of ceramic coatings on this vehicle. And we're starting today talking glass coatings. We literally have the entire gamut here of price points starting at $899 all the way up to $129.99 for different glass coatings. Jordan here is behind the camera. He's actually going to be helping me install these today to see how DIY friendly these are and really do a long-term test. Welcome back. Let's jump into it. Good morning, afternoon. Jordan, how are you doing here today, sir?
Great, man. Take me to school.
Yes. So Jordan hasn't been on the Out of Spec Detailing channel all that much. Jordan, you are kind of, I would say, a weekend warrior detailer would maybe be the best way to describe it. I know I've seen you wash cars, you're wearing Adams hats all the time. So you have some sort of knowledge of general detailing, but have you ever installed a ceramic coating?
Not really, just glossed over it a tiny bit, which is probably the wrong word anyway.
Yeah, glossed over, sure. So what I want to do today is have Jordan help me install these, because I, as a professional detailer, have literally installed thousands of ceramic coatings. I can probably literally do it with my eyes closed. But with the different glass coatings we have here today, we're going to be testing them on the windshield. Like I said, one of the biggest things is not only price with this, it's performance, it's durability, how it works in the rain. I'll be updating you on this challenge basically for how long I have this car, which is 2 years. But one of the big aspects I want to talk about is how the coating actually goes on. So we're going to have Jordan, that's never installed a ceramic coating, do all of the coatings on the windshield here today to see which one works the easiest, because that's a big thing. A lot of people get into ceramic coatings, something like this, big fancy packaging here from C6 Ceramics, and may be intimidated. So let's run through the products we have here and how we're actually going to be doing this test. Every time I've done a glass coating video, everybody says, I just use RainX. RainX is a product that I used to use very much back in the day. Jordan, have you ever used this?
Never used it.
So this is basically what I would call a glass sealant. So it goes on top of the glass here. It makes it nice and hydrophobic. The whole point behind glass coatings is to really, while you're driving down the road, have glass or have the water sheet off of your glass. So you're not having to use your wipers as much. This is really a safety thing, especially driving at night, to have the water flush off your glass instead of just kind of sit there caked up and have your wipers going a million miles an hour. So this is our first product we're going to be using. This is RainX, just the OG bottle, if you will here. $8.99 for the stuff. You can pick it up at Walmart, AutoZone, where I went to get this today. And honestly, I think this is what a lot of people use. Now, we need to talk a little bit about durability with these products. Now, you're going to see a wide range in this. We'll discuss more and more as we get into this video, but this is really what I would put in sort of the wax kind of sealant category, where it's about 3 to 4 months or so they say this lasts. Next, moving up and stepping up to quite more expensive, is Adams Graphene glass coating. Now, I played around with this before, actually left just a little bit left in this bottle so we can apply it to a third of the windshield here on the EV6. This retails here at $39.99. So definitely a step up from the RainX here. This is a 30 ml bottle. So first off, just saying, that's a big difference there, Jordan, for sure. But Adams has really had nice stuff in the past. Now, as a professional detailer, I kind of look at Adams as kind of a DIY friendly product. So I'm not really using Adams coatings all that much. I typically lean towards Geon, G-Technic, some other, CarPro companies like that. So I would really curious to see what this actually performs like on here. Now, one thing that I like what Adam says on this is they say this is about a 10,000 mile coating, between 9 to 12 months, give or take how much you drive. I think that's a very reasonable expectation for a glass coating. The very cool thing with this compared to the RainX is it actually soaks into the pores of the glass, which is going to be a big difference. One thing that a lot of folks really are concerned about with glass coatings is wiper chatter. If traditionally you use a product like RainX, it sits on top of the glass, it can create a friction difference between your wiper blades and your actual glass and create this chatter as they go up and down, and it becomes very annoying. These promise to really fix that by soaking into the pores of the glass, not sitting on top of it, and really help being hydrophobic. Next over here, Jordan, we take a huge jump in price to C6 glass coating.
That's a big box, so is there a lot in it?
Yeah, you would think so, right? So this is $129. First off the bat, Jordan, just what are your thoughts on the price point here?
That's just a lot for some glass.
I totally agree. And I think once you open this, you're going to kind of be like, whoa, that's really expensive. So let's crack this open here and show what comes basically in this package. A lot of nothing so far.
Oh, there it is.
And there's our coating. So this does come with an applicator. Okay, cool. This is genuinely probably 50 cents to have in here, but this is the actual product we're going to be using and testing today. Now, if we open this up, you'll notice this is a 30 ml bottle, $129 per ounce for this product. That's definitely expensive. Now, DIY Detail essentially owns and makes this product from C6 Ceramics. I don't know their whole kind of structure in the company, but this is basically made by DIY Detail, if you will. And honestly, I gotta say, I've been pretty impressed with their stuff. Now, RainX and the Adams one, I did purchase with my own money. C6 Ceramics did send this over. Huge shout out to Ivan over at DIY Detail. Love that dude, love nerding out with him. And he just sent me some products for me to try out. He said, there is no pressure. If you want to make a video, that's totally fine. If you want to bash the product, that's totally fine. If you want to praise it, that would obviously be appreciated as well. So we're just going to dive into this here and see what really works over the next 2 years with my Kia EV6. Now, Jordan, one of the big things that is different between all these products is how you actually apply them, of course. Now here on my EV6, I don't know what happened to this car from when I got it new, but the day I picked it up, there are water spots all over the glass. So one thing we are going to do, which is not required to install these, is we're gonna glass polish this. I wanna strip everything off of it. I wanna get the water spots off of it. I wanna make sure there's no contamination on here. So we're gonna come in here, remove all of that, and then get into installing the coatings. So let's quickly talk about the install differences between these products. RainX literally just says to clean it and basically apply it. So a very simple process. Now, Adams recommends that you essentially clay your glass. Now with that, they also recommend you pair their glass cleaner when doing this. So you're basically going to spray glass cleaner on there, go through, clay all of the glass. Now they do say there is no prep beyond that. Now we're going to do this a little bit differently. I want to keep it fair through all of this. Like I said, I want to have a perfectly stripped windshield with absolutely no protection on it. What's on here right now is Geon wet coat, so I don't want that to interfere with any of these, hence why we're going to be polishing. Now the C6 Hydro Glass over here actually says in their basically instructional video for doing this that you do have to go in and polish the glass, which in my opinion is really the way you should do it. It's going to bond the best, and it's also going to create a perfectly streak-free finish on your glass. So Jordan, just a quick question from you as kind of the DIY guy. Does that concern you that you need to polish your glass when you're getting into, I guess, the more expensive coating?
Probably not. I'm probably the DIY person who's more inclined to do a few extra steps if needed to make better results. So I'm okay with that. And I think the average DIYer would be. It's probably the person who doesn't really want to do anything with their car, and they're like, well, I'll maybe do this by myself, and then they might be shy of it.
Exactly. And I think that's where, like, this product, they're going to go into AutoZone, they're going to be like, I just want to put something on my windshield. I think that's where a lot of people get with this. I mean, it doesn't last a hugely long time, you know, that 3 to 4 months. That seems pretty reasonable, especially for the price point, especially for, this is a 3.5 ounce bottle. So your price per ounce here is hugely different to full strength ceramic coatings. But I had to include this in this test because genuinely every single time I do one of these videos on it, people are like, RainX is the best, you have to test it. And here we are. So Jordan, what we're gonna do here, I've got some polishers hooked up. Now, DIY Detail recommends their gold standard for using it in this situation, which is basically their polish. You can use, I would say, whatever polish you want. Just get all of the stuff off of there. Then afterwards, we're gonna be using isopropyl alcohol. Now, for this instance, again, Adams just says you can use their glass cleaner, put the coating right on top of it, but I think I just want to strip everything, do isopropyl alcohol wipe down. So I'm actually going to have Jordan polish on this as well. Jordan, have you ever polished a car?
Nope. Let's do it.
Sweet. First time here on the EV6. So let's just quickly knock this out. We're not going to go crazy on this. Again, this is not one thing you absolutely have to do. What I would probably recommend you do before you actually polish this is go in there, quickly clay the glass, use whatever glass cleaner, use a waterless wash, a detail spray, whatever you have laying around, clay it to get all the tar, all the bug guts off of it, polish it, and then we'll get into install. Okay, Jordan, so we've got the glass all polished up here. Man, this looks 10 times better. So clay, quick polish on there. Just use a very simple polish. I use this Oberk medium polish, so it's kind of like a one-step. It honestly really doesn't matter. All we're going for here is just really cleaning the glass. So in Jordan's hands here, of course, with gloves on, that's a very important step now. We don't want to introduce any more hand oils, body oils, anything onto the glass. And you have a prep bottle from Geon, but that's actually not Geon Prep. This is 70% isopropyl alcohol. You can pick it up at CVS, Walmart, wherever it may be. So what I want you to do here, Jordan, is we're going to prep the glass for the actual coating. So just give it a good douse on there. We're going to wipe it away. Just get this thing completely oil-free, streak-free, everything, so that the coating can actually chemically bond to it. So, and as you can see, as he wipes that off, just perfectly clear glass in there. Now, your glass at this point, if you touch it with your gloves after you finish wiping there, Jordan, should be what I call tacky. So just with one of your dry gloves, just kind of wipe your hand on that glass.
It's not wiping.
It's not wiping at all. That's how it should be. And that's really the best way to install a glass coating there. So what you'll find as you keep wiping that, you're going to leave a little lint. So just wipe it kind of wet, I would call it, that one time, and you're totally good to go there. So Jordan's just going to do this. That's going to get us all prepped for the actual coating. He's going to get the other side here. Same instance going on, spray it, wipe it away. Then we're going to throw some tape on here. And Jordan, the only thing that's kind of annoying about this test is I'm going to have these two tape marks essentially down this glass that have no glass coating on them, and they're going to look weird. But I think that's kind of important to have our control, if you will. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how annoying that is during driving in the rain and winter time. I don't know. So Jordan, quick questions for you. So how are you feeling about this process? Is it complicated? Seems pretty straightforward. You know, as a DIY guy, what are you thinking here?
No, really straightforward. I mean, you can hand polish it, but the rotary polisher thingy, whatever you call it, is fantastic.
Yeah, so that thing's awesome. So that's the Rupes. I think that's it's a 21 millimeter Rupes, and that is a DA, not a rotary, just for those of you asking. But yeah, it makes quick work of this glass here. Now, you can also, Jordan, use all of these coatings on side windows. I just want to test it here on the front windshield because this gets the most kind of abrasion, if you will. All the bugs, all the kind of slop that comes in the wintertime and when you're driving in the rain. So let's get this taped up, and then we're finally going to get installing the 3 coatings. So we've got the glass all wiped down, Jordan, now, and it is ready to go. As you can see, it is, very tacky to say the least. So what I'm going to do for the next 2 years, literally with this car, is run it like this, which is kind of annoying. I'm not going to leave the tape there. Obviously, I'm going to pull the tape off. That would be highly not welcomed. But we're going to install RainX here, Adams Graphene, and then the C6 over here. So we're going to start off with RainX. We'll go through the application process on every single one of these, but everything is prepped, ready to go. So RainX and the Adams do not come with applicators. What Jordan has here in his hand is an auto fiber. I believe these are called coating savers. So they have this little hydrophobic barrier so it doesn't get soaked into the foam there. Very cool applicators. So Jordan, on the back of the bottle here, It's literally been probably 12, 15 years since I've installed RainX on a car. So it's been a long time. It basically says, fold up a towel for your applicator and just wipe it on there. It doesn't say like heavily, lightly. So I think we'll kind of go somewhere in the middle, I guess. And then once it's installed there and we're going to be using a circular motion, we're going to let it haze up. And then they said it's ready to come off. Interestingly, it also says that you can use water on there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Remove haze with dry cloth or by sprinkling with water and wiping with a paper towel.
A paper towel. Okay. Wow. We're really getting into the whole detailing world here. So I guess just apply some onto your applicator here, roll in some circular motions. So it comes out very much like water, I would say.
Okay.
And just go to town on that section of glass there. So how's it feel on there? Is it sticky? Does it kind of glide smoothly?
Fairly smoothly, I guess. It feels like it's dry really quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. What we call this in the coating world is flashing. So flashing is when the time you essentially apply the coating on there to when it's kind of dry, ready to come off. I don't know. It just seems interesting to me. I've never really liked a circular motion when installing really anything. Because it just doesn't seem even to me. Now, I know Jordan could probably like really sit here and get it perfectly circular, but I think we need to do this test how 9 out of 10 DIY friendly folks are going to really do this product. So Jordan, if you were installing this, you read the back of the bottle, you would install it exactly like this. Am I right?
Yep.
Cool. So I guess let's let this haze.
It says allow to dry until a haze appears. Feels like the haze has appeared as I was putting it on.
Yeah, it looks hazy to me.
Right.
I wouldn't say that it looks even. Like you can see spots like this, very different to over here. Just in my opinion, I would want to have more of this kind of, and the camera is like having a heck of a time focusing here. It's hilarious. But I would want more of this haze everywhere would be my thought. But I also don't want to work it in and kind of ruin this also as well.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just going with what's on the back of the bottle.
Yeah, it doesn't say how much. So it's like, should I be dousing it or just?
I mean, my kind of feeling is that's a 3.5 ounce bottle. I think kind of in this case, more is more. You'll see that's very different from the DIY detail one, the C6 ceramics. So I don't know. What do you think here, Jordan? Should we just wipe this off? Is it ready to go?
I just have no idea. I mean, maybe I should go more.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do maybe the bottom half of the windshield more.
Okay.
And see what that looks like on here. I know people are screaming in the comments, that's not the way you apply it. And now it's beating up. So, okay, I guess it's already on there.
It might be working.
Yeah. So that was really quick how quickly I would say it flashes on there.
Yeah.
So you can see an immediate difference. This is all hazy, dull, and this is good down here. So let's just stop there. Let's let this kind of dry up, and we're just gonna wipe it with a microfiber towel. This is what I'm interested to see. One of the things that's always been annoying to me, Jordan, with glass coatings is I've used some in the past and they come off and it feels like you're wiping molasses off there. I personally like with any ceramic coatings, whether it's paint coatings, wheel coatings, trim coatings, glass coatings, for it to come off and you really feel a nice slick protection. I don't want to sit there and fight the coating. So that's why I think it's interesting to have Jordan do this. I'll kind of get in there too and give my thoughts and feelings, but I don't know. I'm probably going to leave this for another 30 seconds to a minute and then we'll wipe it off. All right, Jordan. So we waited, a minute here. I think it's ready to go. So want to make sure with one thing here that we don't wipe into the next section interfering with this. So what I would do is maybe start down here on the bottom, maybe do half this. I'll wipe the top half just to give my thoughts, but let's see how this kind of wipes off here. So pretty smeary so far. It's hard to actually pick it up on camera. So it looks cloudy to me, but as you wipe a little bit more, it's coming away. So that's great. So what I like to do with this, folks, just like Jordan's doing, I like to have a towel folded up into quarters. That way you have essentially 8 different sides you can use on this. So I do my big initial wipe on side 1, flip it over. That's going to be side 2 for Jordan there. And then I can think you're going to kind of wipe that off a lot easier. What's going on with that spot right there?
I don't know. It won't wipe off.
That's really weird.
I mean, maybe more pressure is working, but
Okay.
not ideal.
So what are your thoughts so far on application ease and removal ease? Does it feel pretty easy to you?
I mean, easy to remove, technically easy to apply and remove. It's just the vague instructions were challenging for the over OCD DIYer
Yep.
who wants very specific
Yeah, and I'm
instructions.
sure we could, of course, go watch a video. I'm not sure that they necessarily have a video exactly how to apply RainX, but I would feel like this would be how any single person would walk into a store, they'd grab this bottle and use it. So let me wipe this top half off here, Jordan. I'm gonna switch with Jordan here.
It feels pretty smooth too at the bottom now that it's wiped
So
off.
actually really smooth. What I don't like is this. So again, remember, Jordan, I don't know if you can pick this up on camera,
Yep.
but see all that kind of residue still sitting there? Let's see if that's gonna come off. So it's just, it likes a lot of pressure. Maybe we need some water on our towel here. That could be a thing, because that to me doesn't wipe off very smooth.
Yeah.
And one of my concerns with this product is that folks are gonna leave this and it's gonna leave impressions. It's a strange feeling product to me, to say the least. I mean, I've done so many glass coatings, but that's not coming off there, Jordan. Here, come in a little bit closer up here. So this up here, that's not coming off.
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, so that's kind of annoying. Okay, so let me get some water to mist on there and we'll see if it'll kind of take all of that off. So I've just misted my towel here, the same applicator or removal towel, with just a little mist of water. Yeah, it is taking it off, Jordan, but this
pressure?
is annoying to sit here and do, because I'm just working on this little area and I can see it's not coming off quite as nice. Now, a lot of ceramic coatings, if you kind of run into that, what I would call this is a high spot, meaning that this layer is higher than the other points on there. A lot of the times what you can do is grab your applicator that you used again, put a little bit more on there, wipe it one more time, and then it'll kind of remove that. But I think we got most of it off. I would say for most people, it's probably gonna be kind of annoying to do that. What's weird is this came off a lot easier than this. I don't really feel a slickness difference between them. So maybe kind of doing that initial layer on there, then kind of going over it one more time is the way to go. I don't know, but this is definitely was too dry to me. I'll be curious to see how this lasts, of course. But one thing I am noticing, Jordan, very smooth. It feels good now, like super slick. Huge difference there. So let's jump into the atoms here. And before we end this video off, do know I'm gonna let all these cure for an hour and then spray water on them and see if we can tell a big difference in between them. We'll try out the wipers as well. I know that's probably not ideal, but I wanna show you guys just kind of the initial. I really wanna abuse these and see what kind of takes the most abuse and what doesn't. So let's move on to atoms here in the center. It'll be a little bit different application and especially removal. So Jordan is now eyeballing his next ceramic coating here. Are there any instructions on the back of that?
No, just some warnings.
So
Don't eat
Adams, yeah, Adams has a video. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jordan. This is one of the easiest coatings to apply.
Okay.
It is very straightforward. So with Adams, they actually say that you wanna use quite a bit of pressure, quite a bit of product. So you're completely fine to really saturate this, and you're gonna work in a crosshatch motion. So what we did on this was a circular motion. This really is my preferred way to install a ceramic coating. I think it goes on a lot smoother. So Jordan, a crosshatch would be, I'll grab that applicator from you. So you're going to apply it in this direction and then come back up and apply it like that. So you're gonna do that to the whole piece of center glass there. Now, what's very different about this, Jordan, you can wipe it off within 30 seconds. And it's nice that they actually tell you that. So you can go ahead and just tell me what you think about this. It is way easier to remove. I will tell you that for sure. So Jordan's gonna get this cracked open here.
And is that 30 seconds exactly? Like, do I have to do the whole thing in 30 seconds?
So that's
Or should
one
I
thing.
segment it if I need more time?
No, so I would do the whole piece of glass and then wipe it off. I think coating companies really struggle with actually telling people how long you can remove it until it's flashed on there because it's humidity based, it's temperature based. So, it's actually pretty warm in the shop today. It feels a little humid to me, like it's definitely not super dry Colorado. So I could do this inside or outside. I should have said with all these, do not do this on a hot windshield. Do it inside or in a cool shade. But the time can be different. So they just give you that 30-second recommendation of like, hey, this is kind of on average. If it's 2 minutes, I think you're going to be fine, but I wouldn't wipe it off super early. So actually pour quite a bit of this on there, kind of saturate all of that. I'll kind of tell you when here since I've installed this. Make sure you kind of get those edges on there. That's probably good.
Okay, cross hatch.
Yep, so go up.
All the way, I think?
Whatever you want to do. I'd probably do half of it and then move up, but you're totally fine. So how's this one feel difference-wise?
It feels thicker.
Okay. So that's what we'd call, I guess, film build. Now, one cool thing with Adams here is that this actually soaks into the pores of the glass, which is really awesome. It's not sitting on top of it. I'm not sure exactly the technology that RainX uses, but I'm telling you from kind of their, let's see how this wipes here. So it's still going pretty good there. Great. Yep, cross hatch that. And then what I would do, Jordan, is apply a little bit more to do your next side.
Okay.
And then we're gonna need to wipe that relatively quickly. This isn't something you have to like be running around the car. You're totally fine. I always recommend for a lot of folks first doing their, probably good there, Jordan, first time doing a ceramic coating to work in smaller sections. I think this is a super manageable section here. Yep, we'll try and get around those wiper blades just as best as you can. There you go. So what I love about these applicators, Jordan, you can like really conform them to whatever you're doing. So that's looking pretty good.
This one also smells weirdly good.
Yeah, but it's very strong.
It's an Adams thing to smell.
It is strong. It definitely smells chemically to me.
Yep.
So one thing I want you to do in this little section is do one stripe up so we don't have all of those jagged lines. Perfect. Yep. Nice work, sir. So, and then we'll come back. Perfect. And I think grab your towel now. So I would realistically say this has been on here, on this side, probably about 2 minutes, give or take. So again, folding that into quarters. Perfect. Start with the bottom. What are you feeling, sir?
That's super smooth.
Yeah, very smooth.
Smoother than RainX.
And it seems like it comes off easier on your first initial wipe.
Yeah.
Leave this top driver's side. I just want to give my thoughts on it.
Yep.
So you got your first big initial wipe, and this is a brand new microfiber. We're, not using the same one for all of them.
I mean, no residue like we saw with the RainX. Here,
Yeah,
you want to take the
it's
other.
way easier. That's one of the best things about this coating that I really love, is that it just comes off so incredibly smooth, and you can just feel that slickness come back absolutely immediately. Yeah, blown away with it, Jordan. I really like how this feels. I've used so many different glass coatings in my days of testing products. I mean, genuinely, some of them feel like you're wiping off kind of this feeling surface over here. It's very tacky, very sticky. It's not very fun. I'm just gonna completely come through here and wipe this off just to make sure we got it perfectly smooth. And yeah, it goes on so easy. It's just like wiping away detail spray, where this one felt to me a little annoying to remove. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Totally agree. So we're next gonna move on to our C6 ceramics. This is hydro glass, of course. Jordan, I've never used this coating, so you're gonna test it before I do. I'm gonna have you install the bottom half of the windshield and I'll install the top half. So this one installs a little bit differently, even to Adams. So Jordan has the hydro glass right here. This is the most expensive one, Jordan. So different applicator that actually comes with it. Now this installs very differently from the previous two. So first off, a very small amount. So Ivan from DIY Detail says 5 drops on your applicator to do half a windshield. He did it on a Jeep windshield and it was 5 drops. So maybe on like an EV6, you would need 6, 7 drops. He did the driver's side half, then went to the passenger side, and he only added like 1 or 2 drops. So it is an expensive product per ounce, but you're using a very little amount. So I'm gonna have Jordan install it on the bottom half of our third, I was gonna say quadrant. It wouldn't be quadrant, would it? It would be trident?
Trident?
I don't
Maybe.
know, whatever it is, either way. So 5 drops on here. I bet it's gonna be pretty liquidy, so I'm curious to see how this comes out.
Oops, that was like
I guess
6.
that was, that's okay. I mean,
It's hard to control the drops.
yeah. One thing I don't like about their stuff is their bottles. I really, really don't like their ceramic coating bottles. So let me grab that from you and I'll hold this. So apply this one in a circular motion instead of crosshatch.
Okay. That was hard to get started, but now it's easy.
So one thing that I really like about DIY Detail is Ivan is one of the most honest detailers and dudes out there. He is just the freaking man. And he's, okay, one thing I gotta say though, Jordan, there's no way we have enough on there.
No, it's already feeling.
Okay, so let's apply a little bit more on here.
Ooh,
Well, let's go with that.
okay.
But the thing about Ivan is he always says less is more. So this to me looks a little bit more normal, how it should. I think that 5 is a little bit tricky to do. But one thing, Jordan, that I love about Ivan, I called him actually before I started this video. I said, hey, tell me a little bit about your product. I want to know about it. One of the things I wanted to know is, does this kind of soak into the glass like Adams does? And he said yes. So I'd probably stop working that there. You can switch me out here.
Yep.
I'm going to apply just a little more because it seems a little dry. Yeah, I don't like their bottles here. But the great thing, anyways, that I was saying, yeah, it just feels sticky to me. It doesn't feel like it's...
Once you get going, it's okay, but then it also wears out and then it's sticky again. So
Yeah, it's really different. Okay, anyways, I need to finish my thought here that I keep missing. So Ivan told me that their product soaks into the glass very similar to Adams. The other thing he said, I asked him because on their website, there is nowhere noted how long this product lasts. So on RainX, you look, it says about 3 to 4 months. On Adams, it says 9 to 12 months, 10,000 miles. I asked Ivan and he goes, oh, I don't give recommendations on how long it's gonna last. That is the way you do coatings because the reason, Jordan, I can coat your glass on your Miata. I can coat the glass on my EV6. 2 very different use cases. We live in basically the same environment. You're 50 miles away, I'm 50 miles north here. And the difference of how you drive your car in the wintertime and the rain makes all the difference. Ivan also told me one of the most interesting things about glass coatings here is that the best way to keep them working a long time is to actually use your wiper fluid on them. Essentially meaning that when you're driving down the road in the middle of a rainstorm, all of the oils from all the cars, trucks, diesel, whatever it may be that's sitting on the road and the actual oils from the asphalt will get kicked up and put onto your windshield. What you'll often see is that after on a rainstorm, not only the coating on your paint, but on your glass will start to kind of build up. Now, Ivan said, if you actually use your wiper fluid, it really helps the ceramic coating here to be able to basically clean it off. Now, there's a lot of alcohol in that, so this is very chemical resistant. Jordan, one thing that I have to say about this coating though, the top, I don't even feel like is on here. Like come in a little bit closer. Like you applied a little, he literally said 5 drops in the video. This to me doesn't even look like I even got it coated. So,
it's a bit drier.
yeah, so to me, this needs a lot more on it. And I've talked to Ivan after he's watched some of my videos and he goes, you applied way too much. So I'm kind of under the impression this is better than what I did up here. But again, we applied more drops than he actually recommended. And this is on a very small area. So one thing I would say that I would like change with their product already, I don't like their bottles. It's very hard to figure out how much you actually need to pour on there. Much prefer the Adams pour spout. Would you agree, Jordan?
Yeah.
It's more manageable. So that's one thing I haven't liked about DIY Details products. What do you think, Jordan? Should we apply more up here or should we just leave it be?
You could leave it and then have your own little comparison on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So time to wipe this off.
Yep.
10 to 15 minutes. So this one sits for a lot longer. Now there's benefits and negatives with that. I think a lot of the times, you know, I watched Jordan do the center here. I almost feel like he started to get not panicked, but like a little like, oh, I got to get this off. I like sometimes coatings that have a long work time because it gives you time to do a whole windshield, maybe even start doing the side windows and then come back and be able to wipe this off. Whereas if you're working with the atoms here, I think a lot of people start rushing, and that's where you really start to cause a lot of issues with not only high spots on coatings, but waiting too long to the point of like the coating's ready to come off. So I think that's an interesting point there. Jordan, one thing I do need to mention, Adams actually recommends 2 layers on their coating. I'm gonna do it with 1 because I don't think it's fair to have 2 coatings on the Adams one and only 1 and 1. Sometimes coatings like to be stacked, sometimes they don't. I just think it's an interesting comparison to figure this out. Maybe what I should even do is coat the top half and leave the bottom at 1. So I guess we'll do that. Let's let this sit here for a few more minutes. I'm not sure how long you're actually supposed to wait before you reapply this. Okay, so yeah.
The theme of lacking today is instructions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, a lot of these companies, this is one of the frustrating things with coatings for me, is that, you know, I have customers call me that live in Florida. Like Cybertruck, for example, I've had a lot of people struggle with doing coatings and other things like that. I can't tell you exactly how it's going to work, you know, up in New York versus Florida versus here versus LA. They're all very different. Now, the biggest thing you need to understand about ceramic coatings is that it takes time to understand them. So I think that's the biggest thing, but that's why I brought Jordan in, because I wanted him to experience how these all work. So just off of application, Jordan, what was your favorite here using?
Probably the Adams.
I would agree. Totally would agree.
And with these trio comparisons, I do often lean towards the middle. So I was like really curious going into this because I had no idea. I was open-minded to any of them.
Sure.
And the fact with the last one, using so little product, I was like, oh, well, maybe that makes the 4 times the price okay. But I don't know exactly how much we use compared to Adams or how long it lasts.
I totally agree. I mean, on one side, I totally love how Ivan does this, and he doesn't say this is going to last a year, 2 years, whatever, because that's reality. But a lot of people like yourself, if you're purchasing a glass coating, you go on to C6 Ceramics page, it doesn't tell you how long it's going to last. I think that's going to kind of move people away from that. They're going to go to Adams, say, okay, I can get 9 to 12 months out of this. Now, in reality, what really pisses people off is when they don't get that expectation. Because your climate is different. Maybe you drive, like if you put Adams glass coating on one of Kyle's cars, it's probably going to last half the time as one of my cars, if not even completely different from that, because I clean my cars more often. Kyle does a ton of road trips. The cars are always being driven. So that's, I think, a big point that a lot of people don't quite understand. But I would absolutely agree with you. Adams went on way easier. Guys from DIY Detail, I hate these applicators. I'm sorry, I just don't like them. I get the whole process. Ivan loves them. My recommendation would be to change something out on these, but that's my personal feelings. I just don't really like these. Okay, Jordan, so we've waited a few minutes here. Now, what we were looking for is for this to kind of haze up and turn a little bit white. Now, Ivan said to kind of come in here and wipe this off. If it looks greasy, it's not ready. This came off perfectly smooth. So let's come in here with our microfiber towel. Holy smokes, really wipes off nice. Honestly, Jordan, I would probably say this wipes off easier than the Adams one.
Nice.
It just feels very smooth. There's no going back over for residue. Now I'm curious to see what this top section looks like. One thing I really noticed, I just felt it on my arm hairs, static, like crazy. That's really weird. Only here, but not over here.
Oh.
That's okay, bizarre. So let's wipe this off. Yeah, super, super staticky. I don't know if that's good or bad. We were charging the 12 volt in here, so maybe that had something to do with it, Jordan.
That's what that little orange light meant earlier, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, right.
Weird car.
Okay, so interesting thing to note up here, Jordan. It feels no different.
Oh.
It feels perfectly smooth all the way, but this to me did not look like it was completely coated on there, I guess you could say. So, okay. Ease of removal, I would almost give to this over Adams. Adams is still very simple. This to me was just kind of one wipe and it was gone. So I'd say that's great. I would put RainX in the last category for wiping off. Application wise, I still have to get it to Adams here. Any other thoughts from you, Jordan, between all of these products?
No, I pretty much agree. I mean, it's crazy the price disparities, so I'm curious to see how they hold up. But application-wise, I mean, we did use more RainX than any of the other products.
But we also used more Adams than the C6 ceramics, to be fair. So honestly, like that little bottle, you can probably take a long way. So, okay, it's a big upfront cost. My question is, okay, if you're using only a couple drops here and there, you know, per car, let's say you use, I don't know, just off the top of my head, 15 mils of that, half a bottle. So now you're in the $60 range to do an entire car. Whereas with Adams, their 30 mil bottle, they recommend you do 2 layers. I personally think, Jordan, that that is one of those things they're like, oh yeah, just go ahead and use more product. So what I actually did down here is I did a second layer. Up top here is 1 layer. We're gonna see if it makes any difference. So my impression is it's honestly not. I think 1 layer is gonna be totally fine. But I do think that is an interesting point that this, although seems expensive up front, may actually almost even out to be somewhat similar to Adams, maybe slightly more expensive. I would just need to do the whole car, but I know for a fact with that 30 ml bottle of C6, you could get through the entire car and probably do a couple more after that. So yeah, interesting comparison here, I think. I'm gonna let this sit for an hour starting now. Then I'm gonna put some water on it and see if we can immediately see any differences. Now, RainX says wait an hour, C6 waits an hour, and Adams about an hour as well. So I think that'll be a cool comparison to see if there's like a massive difference between them. But honestly, they all feel smooth. You can absolutely tell that there's a coating on all of them. Just slickness wise, Jordan, honestly, they don't really feel all that different at all. Honestly, the RainX almost feels the smoothest.
And that's the one, again, that sits on top.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I haven't read anything or heard anybody say that it soaks into the pores. It goes on similarly to the other ones, but I think why they're not getting a huge lifespan is because it sits on top. Now, one of the hardest things on glass coatings is your wipers, which is funny because Ivan also says to use your wiper fluid, which you have to use your wipers for. Now, the whole point of this is to drive down the road, you know, 30, 45 miles an hour and have all the water basically bead off your glass. So I'll bring you back in about an hour or so. We'll get this rinsed down, see if we notice any differences. And this today starts our long-term test on all these glass coatings. Jordan and I just went and had some lunch and let the windshield sit here for about an hour now. No real change, still looks nice and crystal clear. But our next test, since we waited an hour, I want to throw some water on here. Jordan, what is your expectation? Do you think this is going to be like best over here, okay, and then meh, or you think they're all going to look similar?
I think my expectation is that it will be slightly like you get what you pay for.
Okay.
But my hope is that it's kind of the reverse.
Okay.
As someone who is DIY, a lot of people are like, how little can I spend to get a good result? So it'll be interesting to see how that compares.
Yeah, totally agree. So we've got the pressure washer set up here. We've got our deionized water over here. Let's just spray this down and see what it does. I'm anxious to see this. I'm also anxious to see if we can actually see the strips of uncoated glass. That could be kind of interesting. Okay, I'm actually seeing a huge difference, Jordan. Look how little water is over here on the DIY detail versus the Adams.
Wow.
That's actually a massive difference. It could be the angle of the glass, but that's quite substantial, actually. Let me do this again.
You can see right where the strips are.
Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah. So that looks a little bit more even, I would say, throughout the entire glass now. But man, that's really cool. So one thing I want to try here is actually shut off the pressure. And I'm going to what we call flood the glass. And see how it does kind of with sheeting instead of beading? This isn't perfect to do it just because it kind of doesn't come out super even, but you can absolutely see where the glass is uncoated, if you will. Honestly, pretty similar. I don't really see a huge difference at all, in all honesty, which I think is probably a good thing, you know, especially for brand new coatings. I'm actually impressed though with the RainX, how well that looks.
Yeah.
I mean, for $8.99, like, it's pretty decent. So my expectation through this test, I talked to Ivan earlier today, like I said, and he told me he believes his coating on the glass to be one of the longest lasting. We'll see if that's actually true. I think this test is long enough for this specific windshield that's going to see rain, it's going to see snow. We're going to go through an entire winter with this coated, that I think we'll see that degrade first, this degrade second, and my expectation is this to last the longest, but I'm really curious to see if there's a difference. Now, Jordan, one thing we didn't mention here on the Adams was the bottom's coated with 2. I don't really see any difference in between those. They look exactly the same to me.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. One last test I would like to do. I really think it's impressive. Like, you can see how much water I just put on there and how little water there actually is. That's the whole benefit to this, is really the road safety, driving in kind of treacherous conditions, is that the water is gonna go off of the car and you're not gonna have to use wipers quite as much. But one thing I do wanna test, Jordan, is to turn the wipers on to see if we get any of that chatter from any of these. Now, I will be honest and tell you that this test is not exactly the most fair, because this is going to get more wipe. The center is going to get more wipe compared to the RainX. So I kind of gave the RainX the best conditions, if you will, because it's going to get wiped the least. But let's kind of flood this down again and I'll turn on the wipers. So Jordan, we initially noticed a little bit of wiper chatter. I think honestly what that was that strip that we didn't coat. It like stopped and kind of skipped over it. But honestly, that seems pretty smooth all the way through. I don't see or feel any chattering on here, so that's great. Cool.
It works.
I mean, this is kind of a weird test to do because you're not normally going to do this, but I'm really anxious to see what this looks like, you know, in a couple of months, in 3 months, whatever it may be. Did hear some chattering right there, though.
Yeah, as they slowed down.
So it is dry, of course, but that's one negative, and that's a lot of coatings really have an issue with chatter. So what I'll do is, you know, over an extended period of time, probably I'll do a monthly update for a little bit and then maybe start to skip a little bit longer until I notice some things. And I'll try and film some clips like driving in the rain, driving in the snow, what this actually looks like, because I think you'll start to see a bigger difference. But I don't know. I think this is a cool test. Let me know what you guys think. Next, what we have planned for this car is we're going to do the same thing that we did on the windshield on the wheels and on the paint. So I'm literally going to coat every single panel with a different coating on it and see which one lasts longer. I think that'll be a sweet video.
Are you gonna remember where everything is?
I'm gonna have to make a cheat sheet because I will forget for sure. So Jordan, just want your thoughts throughout this. Just seeing this, like how they went on, if you were to choose one, where do you think you would go?
I probably would do the Adams just because I'm typically kind of the middle choice. Like if I just go look at random products on the shelf, don't know much, I probably will choose the middle one because I'm like, well, it must be better than the worst and worse than the best for less money. But seeing that they're all really similar, I'm impressed maybe the most with RainX, just how well it holds up. I do think it's not quite as good and it probably won't last as long, but that's, I mean, we didn't use that much of the bottle. It did go on heavier than anything else, but it was still, as a percentage of 3.5 ounces versus 1 ounce, pretty impressive, and I do see why it's popular. Yeah,
I mean, your cost to do it is very small. I think where you start spending more money, and again, what I'm anxious to see is, you know, these two coatings here, the Adams and the C6 ceramics, really go into the glass, into the pores. Now, funny enough, a company who, I don't know if I can legally say this, a company that has a similar product to Adam's graphene glass coating, I've actually used in the past, made some videos with. I coated my shower door at home with it, and that was 7 months ago, and it looks unreal still.
Wow.
Like, and shower doors get really nasty. You have very hard water on them. You have soap scum that builds up on it. So I've been very impressed with that. So I'm anxious to see on a car what it does. And again, I will do the trick of, you know, driving down the road in the rain, use the wiper fluid to see what that actually looks like. I don't want to just not use the wipers because I kind of want to abrade the coatings, if you will, where I think these two benefit from, you can still use the wipers, where I think that's where the RainX is really going to struggle. So I think eventually what you'll see happen, Jordan, is you're going to get this wake right here of it not beading up as nice, and this is still going to bead substantially more. Again, I'm curious to see what it looks like, but if I were to choose one as a professional detailer, just from testing this, I'd definitely go either Adams or the C6 ceramics. I just now need to see how long they last. And I hope you guys understand with these coating videos, I get this question all the time, Jordan, what coating should I use for this? And it's like, or have you tried this? The issue with me trying things is I need to see how they're gonna work. And I can't see 4 years into the future, a year into the future, whatever it is. So it becomes very tricky to recommend stuff. That's why these coating tests are a little challenging to do, but finally we have a car that I can have just like, have every single panel be something different, which I think is fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. Jordan, any other thoughts?
I mean, I guess a question as it comes up is, you know, longevity and maintenance, if that's a thing. Like, so these coatings obviously degrade over time, and so it's hard for them to say, oh, it lasts this amount of time.
Quite a bit of wiper chatter there, actually.
But if it starts degrading, I mean, can you do like a touch up, or do you have to like, you know, get rid of it and start over?
So yes, it kind of depends. And one thing I do need to mention, actually, our friend Zach that lives out in LA, he applied a glass coating, the Adams graphene, to his windshield. He said it was great until it wasn't, and then it actually made his windshield 10 times worse. So what actually ended up happening, it kind of fogged over. I really think what happened with his was he took it to a car wash. They had some chemicals mixed in that were too hot, if you will, and it kind of like screwed up the coating on the glass. But that's why I wanted to test this, because I can sit here and say, oh, Adam's coating was great to install. That would be my preferred one to use and install. But what does it look like 6 months down the road? So what you're asking with degrading, what we'll probably start to see is, like I said, so here you'll have kind of this wake. This will stop beating quite as much. I would assume similarly here and then over there on the C6. But areas up here that are untouched by wiper blades, probably going to be better. So my maintenance is going to be wash this car as much as I see fit. I typically wash my cars every week, every 2 weeks, just depending on when they're dirty and when they're not.
And one other question, I guess, is, you know, you saw all the prep that we did for this car, polishing and claying and everything. But if I was to have, let's say, someone come to my house, do the windshield, put a new windshield on, a brand new windshield, what kind of prep would you see, or is it the same?
Yeah, so great question. I would just do isopropyl alcohol and then coat it. And one question I missed with you is you were asking, okay, if it has degraded, what do you, or how do you reinstall that? So like, my assumption would be on the RainX, spray it with some isopropyl alcohol. You can probably even clay it and then just go right over it. I would think they're similar for the other two as well. So I think it's something you can just reapply. What I think the interesting thing is going to be here is, okay, so like, let's give, say the performance on RainX is like a 6 out of 10, but then you can constantly reapply it and make it look as nice as the other ones. Maybe that case of, okay, I want to spend a little money so I don't have to do it as often, or I want to spend as much money as I can and then have to reapply it more. I hope that makes sense. So yeah. I think that's why these are interesting, because they sit in very different performance brackets, different price brackets, and everything in between.
Right. It'll be really interesting to see long term, and that's why this is awesome, having this car. I mean, some of the cars we test, we have very briefly. So the fact that you have this for 2 years means so many things we can learn from it.
Yeah, and I mean, even cars like, you know, Model 3 Performance behind me here, this car is owned by a customer in Denver. I'm not going to see him every day. This is a car that I'm going to be driving, and if something just completely goes wrong with these coatings, I'll be the first one to tell you. Again, yes, C6 did give us this coating, but I will be as honest as humanly possible with that. I hope I made that very clear. I really don't like the applicator. The install to me is still a little weird on there. I just wish it was, you could kind of work it in more. I mean, that's just my kind of feeling. So I'll be curious to see how this ends up, Jordan, but I think this video is probably long enough. So let's end this one off. We'll see you in the next one soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.